Hey, my name is James from Varsity Unlimited Tutors. I believe for most of you, we have met before when you were doing your first years. So I would like to congratulate you guys for moving over into your second year. And I believe that we will continue this working relationship that we had in your first year, even into your second year, and see how we can help each other. Right. So, the first year is always a hurdle for a lot of students because, you are now starting online learning and you are starting tertiary institution levels, and things are not always the way you want them to be. And we are happy to have tried to help you in different ways. I know most of the students that I helped, they passed very well. I know that there might be one or two that might not have made it the way that they wanted, but I'm sure they learned from a couple of the mistakes and they're going to do well in their second year. Now, as you're going into your second year, you are now wiser, right? You are now wiser. You now know where the struggles are. You now know where the struggles may be as a student. So you are now able to make certain decisions, right? So even in terms of your private tutorials, I'm sure you now know that this subject, I can handle it on my own. This subject, I might need a private tutor to come and help me. So because of that, even as we go into our second year, we also, as private tutors, we also adjust. We no longer, tutor you for everything. We just select a couple of subjects which we know you guys might struggle with, and we focus mainly on those particular subjects. So one of those subjects that we have seen that second year students struggle with is management accounting, right? In addition to management accounting, I think business statistics. I also think for those that are doing taxation, there's also taxation. I think those are the main ones that I've seen that students usually struggle with when it comes to comprehending what the lecturer is saying, or just wanting extra help to understand the material in order to ensure that you pass at the end of the semester. So what we do is we are going to be meeting you guys every Tuesday at 7 o'clock for management accounting, every Tuesday at 7 o'clock for management accounting tutorials. So this tutorial that we are doing today and the one that we are doing next week will be free. We will try to cover from unit number 1 up to unit number 3 within the next week.
This guy which I forgot, James. Management accounting.
We'll try to cover those 3 units: unit number 1, unit number 2, and unit number 3. Unit number 1 and unit number 2, it's basically theory, and then unit number 3 will start to get into the calculations. So that's what we'll be focusing on. But before we go any further, I'll just highlight, the damages so that you can plan ahead, right? So for management accounting, it's still the same price, it's 800 Rand for the module. This payment includes the lessons that we'll be doing every Tuesday. It includes the solutions to the assignment, right? When I say solutions to the assignment, I'll send you guys a solution to the assignment. And in addition, remember, we're going to do a class, like what you call an assignment class, where we discuss how I arrived at that particular solution to that particular assignment, so that you can even do it on your own. Then it will also include solutions to the KCQs, where we go through the KCQs together as a team, right? And then I'll show you that you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, so that you can get your 100% on your KCQs. Then lastly, it will include past exam revision classes. These are classes that are specifically tailor-made to pass your exams, which means we'll come through with past exam papers and we'll discuss the past exam papers together as a team until we get to where we want. So for those of you that attended lessons for financial reporting and analysis last semester, you know how we're doing financial reporting and analysis. So it's essence, we'll be doing almost similar things. It's just that with management accounting, there is just a little bit more theory than usual than with FRI. So there's a little bit more theory in management accounting. So there will be some lessons that will focus more on the theory part, but we'll be coming through with past exam papers, working them through together as a team to ensure that you guys are prepared for your exam. Now, this 800 Rand, you don't have to pay it in full. You can pay in installments. If you can afford to pay 200, that's okay. If you can afford to pay 300, 200, that's still fine. So you are free to pay this in installments. But in short, it includes the lessons, the sample solutions, the exam preparation, and the KCQs. Now, before I go into management accounting, I know some of you might be asking, James, what about all the other modules? What if I struggle with all of them?
No.
What if I struggle with all the other modules? So yes, definitely assistance and help is available for the other modules, but it's just that we won't have the normal weekly lessons that we usually have, like we are doing for what? For management accounting. So the normal weekly lessons that we have for second years, like I said, it's going to be this one. It's going to be statistics. Those are the normal weekly lessons that we have for second years. But all the other modules, I am still available to assist students. If you need a tutor to help you with an assignment, please highlight to me. Then also on that line of thought, I do have a package that I sometimes offer, that this one is going to be up to you as the students, right? So, for example, you guys do, let's say, organizational leadership. So just like we do here, where we meet and we discuss assignments and etc., I can meet students and discuss the solution for a specific assignment. For example, organizational leadership, right? So I'm gonna post in your groups a message which you can respond to. You can just inbox me and respond that I'm interested, James. Whenever you host the class for the organizational leadership assignment, can you please send me also the link? Whenever you host the class for business and society assignment, please send me the link. When you host the class for fundamentals of organizational behavior assignment, please post me the link. The reason why I would prefer you guys to SMS me is so that I can give you the options in terms of the pricing and the whatnot to deal with those specific assignments. But we do not have the normal weekly assignment classes. We will just be meeting specifically to help with the assignment. So it will be like a 2-hour lecture where we discuss, this is the assignment, this is how you do referencing, this is how you answer the question, this is what you're supposed to put, and etc. And usually it's around 200 Rand for each assignment in terms of the what? In terms of getting assistance for those particular lessons. But there are a lot of options that are there. I would rather discuss them on a one-on-one basis for those students that are interested in those lessons. But for weekly lessons, we only have management accounting and statistics. Those are the weekly lessons that will be available. I think I've covered this. I'll take some questions at the end of the lecture to clarify more on that specific issue. I will talk more at the end of today's lecture. But for today, let me go straight into our subject material, which is management accounting. So management accounting, there are 9 units that we need to go through, right? Like I said, the first 3 units, we are going to cover them this week and next week. That's what we're going to cover, the first 3 units, from unit number 1 up to unit number 3. And these lessons will be free. Then from unit number 4 up to unit number 9, this will only be for the students that are interested in the classes and they've paid their deposit or their 800 Rand. So we'll basically be doing like a unit per week. So we'll meet a week, we'll do labor, we'll meet another week, we'll do marginal costing and absorption costing. Another week, we do CVP and etc. until we are what? Until we are done, right? Please, guys, let's make sure that we are muted. Let's make sure that we are muted. Okay, until we are done. So there are 9 units that we need to do. We're going to try to cover unit number 1 up to 3 in the next today and next week. That will be for free. Then from unit number 4, only for the students that are interested and they've paid for the classes, right? So let's go into unit number 1, right? Unit number 1, we are just looking at an introduction to what management accounting is all about, right? So you guys, you joined my classes for FRA, and you know, when we're doing financial reporting and analysis, we did actually talk about the differences between management accounting and financial accounting, right? We already talked about this. So we are just revisiting some of those concepts, right? So management accounting, right, is different from financial accounting, but it is also, when we as an organization, or when we as accountants or as individuals or as business practitioners, when we try to identify, analyze, and interpret financial information. But the difference now with financial accounting is we focus more on the interpretation and on the ability of us as managers to take the financial information and use it in the planning and controlling of the business decisions that we are trying to make, right? So we are trying to what? We are trying to plan for our business, right? What is the future resources that we need for our business, right? So for example, we are saying, look, next year in my business, how much cash will I need, right, in order for me to be able to pay for the raw materials? How much cash will I need in order for me to be able to pay my employees? That's part of management accounting, where you're now trying to say, okay, so what is the cost of labor within my organization? How can I improve on this cost for labor? How can I do my cash budgeting, right? How much money do I need for my capital, right? You're even going into which project should I choose as a particular business. Should I choose to invest in KZN, or should I choose to invest in Mpumalanga, right? Which asset will provide me the best profit? You're now going into your capital budgeting and whatnot, right? And then even after you've done all of that, in terms of control, you're now checking, okay, I made a plan and said that I want to use 30,000 in cash. Then at the end of the year, you're now looking at control measures. Did I use 30,000 in cash, or did I end up using 35,000 in cash? What control measures can I put as a business in order for me not to go over budget, in order for me not to have too many expenses that are not being managed, in order for me to reach the targets that I had planned to reach at the beginning of the year? Right. So that's what management accounting is all about. It's about looking at financial information, but from the viewpoint or from the perspective that how can I plan using this financial information, and how can I control the activities of my organization given the information that I know about what is happening within my organization. So that's what it's all about. So you can now go through the differences, right? That these are the key issues that you find under management accounting, and these are the key issues that you find under financial accounting. Now, this is just theory, and I expect you guys to also just find time to actually go through the nitty-gritties. I might not go through everything, right? I would expect you guys to also find time to do that, but I'll try to cover as much as I can, right? So the first thing is, who is the user of the information will determine whether it is financial or management accounting. If you see information or financial information where it is mainly used by the management or by the supervisors at an organization, that is management accounting, right? Because you're saying that the managers are using this financial information to make decisions, right? To make decisions about the organization, right? How much money is in the account of the business, right? How much money will be in the account of the business next year? Can I afford to pay my suppliers or not? This is information that is being used by a manager, and a manager is an internal user of financial information, and that is management accounting. But if you look at information that is not being used by managers, right? If you look at your suppliers, if you look at the government, if you look at investors, right? If you look at bankers, the information that they use now, that's external information in its financial accounting. Just like we were doing last year, they are now using the balance sheet, the income statement to see if the organization will be able to pay their monies and whatnot. That's external people. And those are that's financial accounting or financial reporting and analysis, right? Then the nature of the report, right? So if you go into management accounting, you will see when we start doing the work, it's very specific, right? You've got a report that you have to create about the cost per person at the company, the labor cost per person, right, at the company. You've got to create a report about the absorption cost, right, about the marginal cost of a unit. You have to create a report about the economic order quantity. It is very specific, aligned to a specific decision. If you want to make a decision about inventory or about stock use at the company, then you look at the economic order quantity report, right? But when you're looking at financial accounting, these are general purpose reports. An income statement is a general purpose report because it can be used by anyone for a lot of different things. right? So financial accounting, general purpose, whereas management accounting, it's more specific, right? Then you can also look into the structure, right? So the structure of how you prepare the reports. When you are preparing financial accounting reports, you have to follow the law. There are certain formats, certain accounting standards that you have to prepare and whatnot. But management accounting reports are different. Right? They are completely different. Myself, I've worked for like, I think 3 different organizations where I was in the accounting department. And each of these organizations, they had a different management accounting report. The time I was working in insurance, right, the report was more focused on the issue of the number of subscribers, the premiums that they were paying, the data in terms of those premiums. That was the focus of the management accounting report. When I was working in banking, right, the management report focus was more on the issue of the depositors and the loans. That's where the management accounting report was focused on. That are the depositors growing, and is the loan book being managed at any point in time? When I was working, what was it, Standard Chartered? When I was working in investments at Standard Chartered, again, it was different. It was more of an issue of the maturities of the investments and the issue of the liquidity of the organization in terms of its ability to invest more money into the stock exchange, right? So you will notice that management accounting reports, the legality of them is going to be completely out of line. There is no specific rule that you have to follow. As long as you as an organization have agreed, it can be whatever it is. But financial accounting reports, these are standard formats. That's why we taught you those formats or those templates in your year number 1. Right. Then time focus, when you're looking at financial accounting, you're looking into the past. What is the financial performance of the organization over the last year, right? But when you're looking at management accounting, you're looking into the future, right? What will be the financial performance of the organization in the future, right? If we make particular decisions that we are making as an organization, right? Financial accounting, usually we report on an annual basis, but management accounting reports, they can be quarterly, they can be annually, they can be over 5 years, they can be monthly, or even, I remember in insurance with weekly reports that we would send to our financial director, right? So it's more frequent when you're doing with management accounting, and there's no predetermined time. But with financial accounting, usually it's annually, or in some companies it can be semi-annually. Right. So that's in essence the differences between financial accounting and management accounting. I don't know if there are any questions on this particular section, i.e. the definition of management accounting and the difference between financial accounting and management accounting. Are there any questions? Are we all together here? All right, I'm going to assume we are all together, right? So, like I said, the rest of it, this is just theory that I would encourage you guys, find time to go through this specific theory. The reason why I don't want to go into this is you do not get this in your examination. You see, when you go into your past exam papers, you will not be asked about all of these nitty-gritties, because it's just a little bit of theory about for you to know more about management accounting and financial accounting differences and etc. So that's unit number 1. Right? It's just basically quite a lot of theory, So please find time to just read through the theory in unit number 1 so that you are well versed with the theory. But the most important part is the differences between management accounting and financial accounting. That is the most important part in your unit number 1. So now let's go into unit number 2, cost classification. So this is where we're going to spend most of our time today, right? Under unit number 2. Okay. So a business, when it is in operation, right, it's going to have revenues and it's going to have costs. Remember, we talked about this under FRA when we're talking about assets, liabilities, incomes, expenses, and equity, right? So a business will have expenses, or a business will have costs. So when we're saying expenses, or when we're saying costs of a business, we are saying that the value of the economic resources of the business is declining over time because we have to pay, right, for certain things, right? Because we have to make use of certain things. Now, these costs can either be monetary or it can be non-monetary, right? Monetary costs, we're saying you're paying a physical amount of money. Non-monetary costs, we're saying that this is something that you're not paying physically, but it's accruing to the organization. For example, we and T, right? But when we are doing our management accounting, right, there are going to be 3 major categories of costs that we need to know, right, that we are going to get deeper into, and that is going to affect some of the questions that we are going to answer. Right? We are going to define our cost by the type of the cost, right, which means the cost can either be direct or indirect, right? We're going to discuss more, don't worry, right? We're going to define the cost by its behavior. How does the cost behave? And then we are going to define cost by the location. Where is the cost located, right? So type of the cost, behavior of the cost, and location of the cost. So now let's look at the type of the cost. So a cost can either be seen as a direct cost or an indirect cost, right? A direct, remember, like I said, this is a lot of theory. This is just quite a lot of theory that we won't just have to cover today. But once we are done with the theory, then we can go into the workings, right? So cost can either be a direct cost or an indirect cost. When we are saying a cost is direct, right, we are saying that a business, right, it can be what is called a cost center. Trying to find a proper example to give you, right? A business can be what we call a cost center. Right? So, for example, if you are manufacturing vehicles, if you are manufacturing cars, you're a manufacturing company, you're manufacturing vehicles, right? So a cost center, for example, can be determined as the manufacturing of what? Of a BMW cars, right? That's a cost center that you have in your particular business, right? As a business, right? Then you can have, maybe you are manufacturing both BMW and also you're also manufacturing maybe Chrysler, right? So again, Chrysler can be another cost center. Or maybe you're into what's this business? Into cell phones, like Apple, right? You can have a cost center as in the manufacturing of iPhones, and then you can have another cost center as in the manufacturing of iPads, and you can have another cost center as the manufacturing of iMac, the computers, the laptops, right? Right, MacBooks and whatnot, right? So those are cost centers in an organization. So a direct cost is a cost that you can attribute directly to the cost center of that specific organization. So for example, if I'm giving you the example of Apple, right? So the battery that is being used to manufacture an iPhone, right, becomes a direct material, right, or becomes a direct cost in the manufacture of an iPhone, right? The chip, right, the electronic chip that is being used in the manufacturing of that iPhone again becomes a direct cost in the manufacturing of the iPhone. The labor, the personnel that is actually manufacturing the iPhone, who is doing the assembly of the iPhone, also becomes what? Becomes direct labor or a direct cost in the manufacturing of that particular iPhone. But there are some costs in terms of the type of costs which are not direct costs or which cannot be attributed directly to the manufacture of of that particular iPhone. So for example, remember we're talking about Apple, right? So Apple is in the business of manufacturing iPhones, iPads, and whatnot. But Apple as an organization, right? They also are going to have, let's say, a bill, right, for their website where they sell their phones, right? So they've got an online website where they are selling their phones, right? So they have to pay for that online website. But on this online website, right, they are selling both the iPhones, the iPads, and the whatnot. So you cannot directly attribute the cost of the website to a specific cost center and say this is for iPhones, this is for iPads, and etc. So that then becomes an indirect cost of the organization, right? That then becomes an indirect cost of an organization. Or for example, if Apple runs an advert that specifically promotes the brand of the various brands of Apple without specifically targeting an iPhone or targeting an iPad, right? They want to increase the brand awareness of the different products that they're offering, and they run a generic advert. Again, you cannot attribute the cost of that advertising to specifically an iPhone or to an iPad or to a MacBook. And because of that, it is now an indirect cost. So whenever you cannot attribute a cost directly to a cost center, it is then regarded as an indirect cost. It is a cost for the specific organization, but it is indirectly related to the products that the organization is offering. So there is no specific cost center that you can attribute it to for that specific art, for that specific company. So that's the difference between a direct cost and an indirect cost. I hope it's clear. If it's not clear, you can highlight. All right. So I have got an example here that I also want you to attempt in your spare time, right? So I've listed here, and I said below here is a list of the different costs faced by Coca-Cola Company, right? Factory in Eswatini, right? Okay. Sorry. Okay. By Eswatini, right? So Coca-Cola manufactures, right? Fanta, the manufactures the Valkyrie water brand, right? And as a finance manager, you have been asked to show the direct and indirect costs for Fanta. So the cost center in this particular case is Fanta, right? And the cost center in this particular case is Valkyrie. So those are the different cost centers that you have in the Coca-Cola Company. You've got cost center in terms of the Fanta manufacturing process, and you've got a cost center in terms of the Valkyrie manufacturing cost, right? But you are given here all of these different costs that the organization is facing. And then you are supposed to attribute each to the specific cost center. Is it a direct cost or is it an indirect cost? So for example, if you look at the carbonated syrup, the syrup that is being used in manufacturing the drinks, right? So this is definitely a direct cost for Fanta, right? Why? Because you don't need this in the manufacturing of purified water. You only need it in the manufacturing of Fanta. So you can definitely say this goes to the cost center of Fanta, right? Sugar, same thing. You don't need sugar when you're creating purified water. So this one is a direct cost to the manufacturing of what? Of Fanta. Rent for the factory. Now, this is an indirect cost because you cannot attribute it specifically to Fanta or specifically to Valkyrie because both of these things are being manufactured in the same factory at the end of the day. So it becomes an indirect cost for the what? For the organization. Although if you want, you can try to say, okay, square mileage and whatnot. If you want to do that, you can do that. But usually we can consider it an indirect cost. Labor on Fanta assembly line, that's a direct cost because it's labor attributed specifically to the people that are in the assembly line of manufacturing the Fanta. Factory manager salary, that is an indirect cost because the factory manager is managing both the people that are producing the Fanta and managing both the people that are producing the Valkyrie. So it's not a cost center initiative. It's for the whole factory at the end of the day. So it becomes an indirect cost. So please go through all of the rest of the costs that are listed here and try to allocate them to a specific issue. If you're facing any difficulty with any one of these things, you can then highlight to me and then I can tell you where you can put your answer to. Then I'll also try next week when we meet, I'll also try to give you the answers where each particular cost falls so that you can double check and see if you allocated them appropriately at the end of the day. But before I move on, is there a specific one that you're already seeing there that you're saying, this one, James, even if I go and try, I think I'm going to fail on this one? Do you see anything there that you think that it will trouble you so that we can address it right now? Okay, I trust everyone is happy. So we go to the next one.
We are passing with flying colors.
Okay, it's fine. So let's go to it. So we are done with a type of cost. Remember, I said type of cost, behavior of cost, and location of cost. So we are done with type. Type, we said direct versus indirect. Now let's look at the behavior, how a cost behaves, right? So when you have a cost in an organization, right, as you increase the output of the organization, costs are going to behave differently. Some costs will remain the same, some costs will increase, right? So that difference in the behavior of the costs can also be used in categorizing the different costs of an organization, right? So again, let's use the same example. the example of Coca-Cola plant, right? Let's use the example of the Coca-Cola plant in Eswatini, right? So rent, for example, just think of rent. So Coca-Cola in Eswatini, right? They can produce 1,000 liters of Coca-Cola today, right? And they will still pay their rental. Maybe let's say that their rental for the factory is 30,000 rand, right? So they will pay 30,000 rand rental and they will produce 1,000 liters of Fanta, right? Next month, let's say that the demand has increased and then they produce 1,500 liters of Fanta. As long as they can still produce it in the same factory, the rent is not going to change. But you see that the output has increased, but the rent is remaining the same. So whenever you have got a cost that is like that, where the cost is not changing, regardless of the actual output that is being produced, we call this cost fixed cost. Typical example is the one that I've given you, rent. It's a typical example. Or things like insurance, they are also a typical example. For example, if you gave insurance for the building, right, it's not going to change regardless of the output that you've produced for the organization. So these are called fixed costs and they do not change over the range of output that you are producing. But however, I don't want you to make the mistake, because you guys are going to be the future business leaders, right? Some costs, they may be fixed in a particular range. So I said Coca-Cola produces 1,000 liters and they move to 1,500. If let's say they move to 10,000 liters, you might find that they might not be able to produce 10,000 liters in the current factory, which means that they might need to hire a second factory for them to produce 10,000 liters, right? Which means that the cost is now what? Is now changed. So fixed costs, they remain fixed, but usually over a particular range, which means that if your output exponentially increases, you might find that your fixed costs might no longer be fixed. They might start to be called variable costs. So just take note of that, specifically in the real world. But in the terms of what we're doing here, we know that there are fixed costs and there are variable costs. But in the real world, there are fixed costs, then there are semi-variable costs, and then there are variable costs. In the real world, we say there are 3 categories. But for the sake of progress, let's just look at the 2 categories here. Right, so that's category number 1. Category number 2, again, Coca-Cola, right? So if Coca-Cola produces 1,000 liters of Fanta, let's say they might need 100 kgs of sugar. But the moment they say we want to produce 1,500 liters of Fanta, they are going to need more sugar, because for each bottle of Fanta that they produce, they are going to need maybe 100 grams of sugar. So as they increase the number of bottles of Fanta that they use, they'll increase the kgs of sugar that they need. Another example, look at packaging. Right? So when Coca-Cola is selling you Fanta, they will sell it to you in a small a bottle, right? The plastic, the PET plastics, right? So if they sell you 1, they're going to need 1 PET plastic. If they sell you 2, they're going to need 2 PET plastics, which means that as they increase the production of Fanta, they will need more and more packaging for each and every unit of Fanta that they produce. So we call these variable costs, because as the output increasing, the proportion of the cost also increase over time. So usually you find this in your materials that you're using, in the labor, especially if you have got labor that is the labor that you pay per hour. Factory workers, they come in, they log in, they pay for you, they work for a number of hours, you pay them per hour. Maybe the wage rate is 15 rand an hour or something like that. But labor can also be fixed. If you don't pay them per hour, let's say that you just pay them per year, per month, you're saying, I'm paying you 30,000 per month. That's fixed, because it's not changing. Regardless of what the person produces, you're paying them the same amount. So that's fixed. But if you go into manufacturing, most of the time the labor is variable, because it depends on the number of hours that the employee has worked. Right. So that's a variable cost. So again, I've given you guys here a list of different costs, and I want you guys to see whether this cost is fixed or whether this cost is variable. Now, there are areas of contention when you look at these things. There are some things where you ask James, I think I need more information about this specific thing. And it's always like that. There's certain things where you need more information. In the exam, most of the time, the lecturer will provide you more information so that you know what you're talking about. But you should be able to to navigate this one. So let's do a couple of them so that we can see together, right? So again, carbonated syrup, right? Is that fixed or is that variable? I would assume that is a what? That is a variable cost, because as you increase the production of the output, you are also going to what? To increase the need for the raw material that is syrup. Again, you look at sugar, that is most likely going to be what? Variable. You look at rent for the factory, that is most likely going to be fixed. You look at labor on the funder assembly line, that is most likely going to be variable. You look at the factory manager, it's most likely going to be fixed, because the factory manager is likely going to get a salary that he gets every single month, which is not tied to the number of works that the factory manager does. Right. So does anyone want to attempt delivery cost for raw materials? What do you guys think? Do you think it is a variable cost, or do you think it is a fixed cost? Delivery cost for raw materials. What do you guys think?
It's variable.
It's a variable cost.
Variable.
Yes, that is very, very correct. Okay, let's look at another one here. Yeah, I want to give you one which is a little bit difficult. Communication expenses. What do you think? Is it fixed or is it variable?
Fixed.
Fixed.
It's fixed. Do you care to try to explain why you think it's fixed?
I guess despite the fact that the products that are being manufactured, as you said in your explanation earlier, there is nothing specific that we can dedicate this or allocate or assign this cost to. So it is for communication, whether you are communicating about the brand or you are communicating about the benefits of the brand.
Okay.
It's
So,
still
yeah. Okay, no, that's fine. So that's what I was saying, that there are some costs where you need more information. They are not as clear as you would want them to be. So communication expenses is one of those costs where you will need more information in terms of what is really happening at that specific organization. So in some organizations, communication expenses may actually be fixed. Right. So for example, when we're talking about communication expense, for example, let's talk about the internet. Right. Let's say that you are paying Telkom a fixed amount for unlimited data with the company. That's going to be a fixed cost, regardless of what is happening in the company. It's never going to change, right? But let's think about salespeople, right? Salespeople, the way they communicate with the clients. If you increase production in the factory, the salespeople will make more phone calls so that they can sell the product that you're increasing. It then goes towards variable, because the more you produce, the more the salespeople have to communicate with the clients in order to sell the product at the end of the day. So it becomes variable at that particular juncture. So do you find there are certain costs like this, but don't worry, it's not going to be tricky in the exam. It usually gives you a clear indication whether something is fixed or is variable. But there are some costs that are like that as a manager, that you can't really put it under fixed or under variable, because it depends with the organization in which you're operating in at the end of the day. So please go through all of these and see if you can allocate them to a specific issue. Right. Then the last one, sorry for I think there's a mistake there. So we said type, direct versus indirect, and we said behavior that is fixed versus variable costs. And then lastly, it's supposed to be location. Sorry, it says direct versus, that's wrong there. It's supposed to be location. Location, you're looking at manufacturing costs versus non-manufacturing costs. Right? So this one is very straightforward. Manufacturing costs versus non-manufacturing costs. So any costs that are attributable to manufacturing are considered manufacturing costs. So for example, the materials that you are using in the manufacturing process is a manufacturing cost. The electricity for the factory that you're using in manufacturing is a manufacturing cost. The salaries of both the people on the front line and the managers and the cleaners in the manufacturing plant are all manufacturing costs. Versus non-manufacturing costs, which is now the cost of the organization to market the product, as well as the cost of the organization to administer, right? Administration expenses, your managers at the head office and whatnot that are doing all of these different things, your IT guys, your technicians, and etc., that are doing all of these other different things for the organization, your insuring costs, and everything that is not directly tied to manufacturing is considered under non-manufacturing costs. Usually we just say marketing costs and administrative expenses of the what? Of the organization. So again, you've got a list of things here that I will need you to identify whether it falls under manufacturing or under non-manufacturing. For this one, usually the tricky part that students might struggle with is issues such as depreciation, right? Depreciation, it depends. If it's a depreciation, right, of something that is being used in manufacturing, then it's considered under manufacturing costs. But if it is depreciation of something that is being used at the office level, then it's an administrative expense. So you just have to determine, is this part of the manufacturing cost, part of the manufacturing plant, or it's part of the office issues that the office has to deal with at the what? At the end of the day. So that is the classification of costs for you. That is the classification of costs for you. So when we meet in our next week, we are going to be looking at unit number 3, which is the materials. Unit number 3, which is the materials. And here we are going to cover quite a lot of ground. We're going to look at the economic order quantity, how you calculate the economic order quantity, and we are going to do inventory valuation, which is going to be quite a lot of workings. We are going to do the first in, first out method, the last in, first out method, the average AFCO methods of inventory valuation. Right? So that's what we'll be doing next week. So next week, we are done with theory. We are done with theory. Next week, we'll just be doing some workings for the economic order quantity and for the methods of valuing the different inventories that we have as a what? As an organization. So next week will be our last free class that we are going to have as a what? As a team. Then please take note, for those of you that are going to be doing your budgeting and whatnot, I would love to do the assignment on the 29th of August, or if we fail to do on the 29th of August, on the 5th of September, because we just want to quickly do the assignment so that we can focus on exam preparation. So please budget accordingly so that at least when we're done with next week's free lesson, you make sure that you've already paid up so that you don't miss the assignment class. I would really love to do the assignment on the 29th of August so that we know that we are done with the assignment and then we can focus on the what? On the exam preparation. Are there any questions for me before I just summarize the issue of the payments and whatnot? Are there any questions for me specifically on the content that we covered today? Okay, if there are no questions, like I said, today I just wanted to get the theory out of the way because I know theory is, makes people sleep. So now that the theory is done, next week when we meet, we're going to do workings. So 22, we do workings for unit number 3. 29, we work on the assignment. And then from the 5th going onwards, we start our exam preparations, right? Then, like I said, it's 800 Rand for the module for management accounting. It's 800 Rand. You can pay this in installments. You can pay this in installments. You can pay 200, 200, 200 until you're done, or 300, 300, whatever it is that you feel like you can manage. You can do it in what? In installments. And this 800 Rand covers you for the lessons. It covers you for the exam preparation. It covers you for the assignment. It also covers you for the KCQ. So the only thing that you have to worry about is just attending the exam preparation classes so that at the end of the semester, you can ace your exam. But all of the middle stuff, the assignments, the KCQs and whatnot, you don't need to worry about that. We'll take care of it for everyone. So that's for management accounting. Then, like I said, for those that are saying, look, James, other than management accounting, we've got other modules that we need assistance with. please reach out to me and we can discuss more how we can assist you with the other modules. But unfortunately, we will not have normal weekly lessons for the other modules. What we will do is the students that are interested, let's say, for example, 3 or 4 students have approached me for organizational leadership. I'll just organize one class where I meet the students and then we discuss the assignment together, and then they can go and write their assignments after I've told them where to get the materials, how to do the referencing, what the answers and etc. are going to be for that specific assignment. So reach out to me so that if you need a specific help with a specific assignment, I can allocate you to the correct group where I'm going to assist with that assignment. But like I said, I am not going to be having normal weekly lessons for anything else other than management accounting and business statistics. Those are the only 2 modules that we have normal weekly lessons for second years. Everything else will just be dealing with the assignments and whatnot, right? So message me and then we can talk more, or give me a call and then we can talk more to explain further, right? I hope you all enjoyed the lecture or at least benefited from it. I hope you're all going to come through next week when we do economic order quantity and inventory valuation methods. Please come through for the workings so that we can do the workings together. Are there any questions for me before we dismiss each other for the night?
Okay, for the next one, James, are you going to send us the link? It will be during the week or will it be over the weekend?
It will most likely be during the week on a Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. Or next Tuesday. Or
yeah,
okay.
next week.
So that we can program our times accordingly.
Okay. No, it's fine. Next week Tuesday. Next week Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
All right.
No, thank you so much. I think
Number
it was
to
very
pay.
nice.
You can message me if you don't have my number. Let me just share it here. You can just message me if you need more details in terms of like account number to pay and whatnot. You can just message me. Just give me a second here so that I can maybe just share my phone number. Okay. But feel free to just send me a message. And I will highlight what you need. Where is my Zoom here? Okay, share. Okay, so that's my phone number. If you didn't have my phone number, 071 3000 634. 071 3000 634. That's my phone number. You can just give me a message and then we can discuss more. If I don't respond to you quickly, please be a little bit patient. There might be other students that I will be attended to at that particular time, but I'll come back to you on WhatsApp. All right. Anything else before we dismiss each other?
Sorry, are you going to share the recordings, please?
Yes. I'll send the recording plus the notes that we used today. I'll send the recording plus the notes that we used today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anything else, guys, before we dismiss? If there's nothing, we see each other, guys, next week on Tuesday. Please make sure that you reach out to me if you're interested in these classes. Please make sure that you reach out to me so that you don't miss out. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thanks, James. Keep well.
Look forward to you too.
Bye.
Thank you so much.